everyone, it's Jennifer Bro, your luxury travel guru and your travel bestie. And I want to welcome you to our second annual Bridging the Gap. Now, many of you, it's your first time attending our conference. So you're like, well, what is this? And how did you get this fabulous name? Well, this name came to me actually probably 2 decades ago when I was listening to this singer called Nas. Actually, he's a rapper, and his dad, he is a trumpet player, and he wanted to bring it back to the times when his dad was growing up singing and playing the trumpet and his contemporary music rapping. And so he called it Bridging the Gap. And I love this concept. So I wanted to bring knowledge and connect communities and connect you to other communities and other resources. And that's how I came up with the name Bridging the Gap as the conference name. So I thought it would be great to have this conference. And that's where it all started. I had this calling. I had seen conferences before and attended conferences when I lived in different states while I was traveling in the military. I was in the military and being assigned different places, and I attended these. And I wanted to bring something that connected our community partners with other people. And we have a fabulous lineup, so make sure you have your notepad, your pen, maybe your popcorn if you're into eating snacks while you're listening. But we have a fabulous lineup today, and you will not be disappointed. So that's where it first came to me, was the title and a calling from God. I knew that I was put on this earth to do something more than what I had already done. I wanted to be able to serve people in a different way, in a unique way. And that's where I came up with this title and this conference. And I also know that I wanted to connect people with travel. And I'll come in and speak later on about travel and what it is and how you can do that as a community, as another way to travel with your neurodivergent family. And I think it's important that you know that you can do that travel is possible. Now, this is our second event of the year. So if you missed that, you can always watch the replay on YouTube at I Am Jennifer Bro. So I have a YouTube channel now. Yay! I love that. I'm so excited about it. And also make sure that you got my free ebook, Top 10 Travel Tips for the Neurodivergent Family. And there's my little banner, I Am Jennifer Bro. So it's at my website at I Am Jennifer Bro. And that is there for you. So it's the top 10 travel tips. Now make sure I have 2 ebooks, but one is just for the neurodivergent family, because there's some unique tips in there for families like us. When I say like us, I walk in your shoes every day. I have 2 children that have autism, and they vary on the spectrum. So I am walking in your shoes every single day. So you're not alone. You have a community that is there to uplift you and support you every single day. And I'll do that with you. I'll be there for you as well. And people and everybody on my panel, they have either a child or a family member that live in your shoes too. They walk the talk every day. So you're not alone. They have those same experiences. Maybe it's a little bit different. Maybe it's the same, but they understand what you are going through and what you experience. So not to worry, we know that. Everybody on this panel has similar experiences. Now, make sure you get my ebook. That's the first thing. And then I also want to tell you about the blogs that we have. Every month, now this whole month, I have dedicated to what I like to call Travel is Possible. So I wrote a book about travel is possible for the neurodivergent caregivers. Caregivers that have neurodivergent family members. And from that, I knew I just couldn't stop with the book. So every month, every single month, the last Thursday of the month, because I have blogs that come out every Thursday, but the last Thursday of every single month, I dedicate to us, to our families that have neurodivergent kids, teens, adults living with them. So there's helpful tips about which luggage, which fidgets you should use or buy, or I recommend. that have been tested by my kids. So take those. Maybe some will work for your family. But I also have some destinations that will work for your families as well and that we've tested. So don't worry, they've been tested too. I have to put my little work into that to make sure that they're safe for you and your family. So I have those blogs weekly. This month, however, I have dedicated every blog to you. And I've had some guest bloggers. So we've thrown some extra blogs in there. I hope you enjoy them. And they've been written by our experts. Now, I have my blogs for you, the books out there for you. And again, that free ebook. All you have to do is sign up for our mailing list and you can get that. And I also have a newsletter. So if you get into our email list, they are there for you. I do have a new book coming out. So that's Everyone Deserves to Travel. And I really, truly believe that. Everybody, regardless of your ability, deserves to travel. And that is from my heart. So check that out. Now I want to talk about events coming up. Well, I'll save the events for later. So make sure you stay tuned. Now I have shared some of my goodies with you. So make sure you check out the website. They're there waiting for you whenever you are ready. I hope you're ready. They are there for you. Now, I have a dynamic speaker coming up. Now, I don't know, raise your hands, throw me some hearts if you've ever had problems in the school with your individualized education plan. I'm going to put up 2 hands because both of my kids have encountered hardships in the school with their education plan. Different hardships. Some weren't following their IEP, and some were just writing the same stuff year after year. And we know our kids change. We know that they have different and unique challenges every single year. But the school, they refuse to make changes. So we've had different challenges for each child. So we needed an IEP, individualized education plan, IEP advocate. They are critical in helping us make sure the schools not only are doing what they're supposed to do, but make sure that your child is getting what they deserve, a fair and equal education. Now, I have been in your shoes. I continue to walk in those shoes because both of my kids are still in school. So I know how important an advocate can be. So I'm excited to talk about or bring forward to the stage, not yet, because I need to tell you all the goodies about her. So Dr. Brandy Tanner is a nationally certified school psychologist and a former special educator with over 15 years of experience. Now listen, so she started in the schools. She knows what it's like to be there, but she knows that what needs to be fixed. And she wants to fight for parents like us. She's on our side. So she knows what it's been like in the schools. She has a brother that has autism. She has walked in our shoes, and she is going to advocate for our kiddos. She founded Your IEP Source as a way to demystify the complexities of an IEP process and empower parents like us. She's received degrees in elementary and special education and her PhD in school psychology. She has completed her APA, that's approved doctoral internship at the Hope Institute for Children and Families and the Autism Program at Illinois. Isn't that amazing? She's so smart. And we had her at last year's conference, and I just knew that I needed to have her here again. And she has been so gracious to us. So she's brought some slides. You're going to see that so you can actually visually see the information, but also hear her. So I'd like to bring to the stage Dr. Brandy Tanner. Yay! So excited to have you here. Thank you so much for agreeing to be here, Brandy.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you so much for that nice warm welcome. And thank you for hosting this event to share the information with everyone. I appreciate it, and I'm happy to be a part of it.
Okay, well, I'm going to not go away. Let's leave the stage, bring up your slides, and cheer you on from the background.
Sounds
great.
Thank
you. Okay.
Okay, so as Jennifer mentioned a few moments ago, sometimes the IEP process can be a little bit difficult to maneuver. So I'm going to spend a few minutes talking with you today about knowing your rights and participating meaningfully in your child's IEP. Next slide. An overview of what we're going to be discussing is first, we'll talk about 3 pillars of IEP advocacy. We will talk about what does meaningful parent participation mean. We'll talk about setting your IEP up for success, preparing for the meeting, and effectively communicating in your IEP meeting. Next slide. So a little bit about me. Jennifer read some information from my bio about some of my professional work. I am a former school psychologist and special education teacher. And over time, I found myself sitting in IEP meetings and wanting to be able to tell families extra hints and tips about you should ask for this or you should ask for that. And I was that school employee that was following parents out to the parking lot and telling them, hey, you should ask for this the next time that you come in. Over time, I decided that I really wanted to work more directly with families so that my hands would not be tied working in a school setting. So I left and founded my psychology practice and then got really, really focused on advocacy over the past few years. So my work is primarily supporting parents to learn about the IEP process and what all that entails and how they can use their rights to get the maximum supports for their children. So that's my professional background. As Jennifer mentioned a few minutes ago, I do have a brother that has autism. So I'm especially grateful for the work that Jennifer does. It's important for us to not only do the work side of things on education and IEPs, but it's also important for us to travel, take vacations, things like that, so that our family members who are neurodiverse can also have a wide range of experiences. So I'm very, very grateful for Jennifer's information. I wish that it would have been around when I was younger and we had some family vacation blunders that were a little bit difficult for us to figure out. So this is a great event and I'm really happy that she is putting this on for us. Next slide. Even though I think that the information in this presentation will be helpful for families, I do just want to put a disclaimer out there that it's not individualized information for anybody. It's just educational information that we can use if you feel like you need to speak to a psychologist, a medical doctor, if you need to speak to somebody about your finances or legal advice, please do seek the advice of those professionals. And we want you to use this information to do the best that you can, but we can't guarantee any specific results from using the information, but we do hope that you find that it's helpful. Next slide. Okay, so when I start to work with a new family on IEP issues, I think of 3 pillars to IEP advocacy success. So I put a picture of a stool on this slide because we need a little bit out of each leg or things are going to fall apart, not stand up stable. So each piece is important. The first part is clinical knowledge about your child's disability. Whatever your child's diagnosis is, you need to learn as much as you can about it, learn what types of difficulties your child might have as a result of that disability, and learn about what are the best practices for what interventions and strategies work so that you can share that information with the team. The next piece of IEP advocacy success is knowing about special education rules and procedures. So we have the clinical information about the child's disability. Because it's the government, there is red tape. We've got to be able to fill out the paperwork and follow the rules in order to get those services in place. So I do a lot of helping families understand that procedural red tape to actually get those best practices, interventions in place. The third piece that I feel like often gets overlooked is your relationship and communication with the school team. The way that you are communicating with people and the type of relationship that you have is going to be another factor in how effective you can be in getting the services and accommodations that your child needs. So we want to keep all 3 of these things in mind as we're working through IEP issues. Next slide. So one of the most important things that I like for parents to think about is what does it mean to meaningfully participate in the IEP meeting? The Individuals with Disabilities Act is the federal law that sets all the rules for special education, and it mandates that we have to have parental participation. The key is we want to have meaningful parent participation. So in many cases, I have been in meetings where I've seen parents that are sitting at the table, but they appear to be bulldozed, snowed, just kind of being served up. Here's what you get, here's what you get, here's what you get. Nobody is asking questions. Nobody is seeking feedback. Nobody is taking that parent's information into account or things like that. They're using a lot of acronyms that the parent doesn't understand, and the parent is at a disadvantage because their input is not really being considered or used in making that plan to serve their child. In contrast, I like for parents to think about meaningfully participating. That means you're actively participating in the discussion and you are actively participating in the decision making. So again, at the school side of things, a lot of times I feel like they just want to check off their box that yes, the parent is present. The parent being present is not enough. We want you to really be a member of the team and speak up and share information that is going to help your child's program. Next slide. So I have written an ebook that is on this topic. It's called My Child Has an IEP, Now What? In today's talk, I'm going to be going over a little bit of the information that's in this book, but that is out there as an additional guide and resource for you if you wanted to look back at any of the information later on at another time. That's available on my website. You can download it at any time. So next slide, please. Okay, we're going to get into setting up your IEP meeting for success. Next slide. So why should you set up your IEP meeting for success? When I talk about setting up your IEP meeting for success, I mean, when is the meeting being scheduled? Are you having an in-person meeting or a virtual meeting? Do you have enough time set aside, and do you have the right people at the table? We want to make sure that we're looking at all of those things up front, because if you set up the meeting right the first time, you can accomplish what you need in one meeting without having to come back and disrupt your schedule a second time. You can have everyone present that's going to be implementing that plan. And because they're there, they hear the information and they participate in that discussion, they'll be able to implement the plan better. And also, your meeting will be more productive if everybody knows the expectations in the meeting. We're here to discuss testing. We're here to discuss new goals. Whatever it is, it kind of sets everything up so that your meeting can go more smoothly. Next slide, please. One of the things that you want to think about is scheduling. If you are requesting a meeting, you want to make it clear that you want an IEP meeting and not a parent-teacher conference. I suggest that parents reach out and provide some availability dates. For example, if you want to have a meeting before the end of the month, you could send an email that says, I'd like to have an IEP meeting to discuss my child's progress or lack of progress on their goals. I'm available April the 28th, 29th, and 30th. So that establishes a timeline for when you'd like to meet, and it gives them some dates to consider. The meeting has to be held at a mutually agreeable time. A lot of times schools want to just default to the teacher's planning period is at 10 o'clock, so we can only meet at 10 o'clock. Actually, they need to accommodate your schedule as well, because you are an equal member of the team. So that might mean doing some rearranging of schedules, but they do need to meet at a time that works for you as long as it's within the school people's contracted hours. If you plan to bring an advocate or a lawyer, make sure that let the people at the school know that ahead of time. If you let them know ahead of time, they will likely bring a district staffed person or an attorney if you bring an attorney. But you want to let them know that ahead of time so that they don't shut down your meeting for claiming that they don't have the right personnel present. Next slide. Next up, I'm going to talk a little bit about in-person meetings versus virtual meetings or hybrid meetings. During COVID, everyone was having virtual meetings for all the obvious reasons. Since we have returned back into the school setting, a lot of places are still holding virtual meetings. However, I'm a big fan of in-person meetings for several reasons. When you're sitting in a room with someone, you can observe their body language. You can make sure that everybody is attentive and participating. If you have documents to share, you can open up your folder and slide your papers across the table. If they need to bring in information to you, you can actually take a look at it, see your child's work samples. For those reasons, I really like having in-person meetings. A con can be, it can be a little bit more difficult to get everyone in the same room at the same time. Sometimes you might have therapists or specialists or district staff that aren't local at your school all the time. But overall, I like having in-person meetings for those reasons stated. Next slide, please. Some pros of virtual meetings: it can be easier to get everyone in attendance at the same time. For example, like I said, if you've got a therapist or somebody that is on site at a different school, they can easily log in. Another pro is if you have suggestions for how to word a goal or how to word an accommodation, you can go right on your computer and drop that wording into the chat section and ask the person that's updating the documents, just cut and paste this and put it in right here. So those are some potential pros of holding a virtual meeting. Some potential cons of virtual meetings would be sometimes people are not as fully engaged as they would be if they were sitting in a room with someone face to face. You might not be able to share documents as easily. Sometimes I work with families to prepare documentation or to have work samples ready. And if you're not the host of the meeting, you can't access the share feature to show what you want to be shown. Another problem is sometimes there is what I call a revolving door of participants. You might start out with 6 or 7 people in the meeting, and then someone leaves or someone turns off their camera. So it makes it really hard to make sure that everyone is there, fully participating, fully engaged for the whole time. So those would be some potential cons to virtual meetings. Next slide. A hybrid meeting is another option for you if the majority of the people are able to be on site at the school and you have somebody or a couple of somebodies that are not able to be physically present there. We can have the majority of the people in the room, and then the people that are not able to join live can join via Zoom, Teams, whatever type of program is being used. The good thing about that is you don't run into some of the scheduling issues because you can still get everybody that you need at the same time. Potential con would be sometimes the virtual participants might have a little bit lower engagement if they're not physically present. I have done some hybrid meetings recently because I've worked with and supported some families who are quite a distance from me, but I can still help advocate for them in their meetings, even though I'm not close enough to actually go to their school meeting. So that's another potential way that you can get everyone that you need present in a meeting to get what the student needs. Next slide. Establishing the length of the meeting is another important thing to do when you're getting things set up. You want to determine how much time is allotted for the meeting. Are the teachers going to have coverage beyond their planning period? Is it at the end of the school day and people are going to be going home? If you're bringing an advocate, or even if you're not and you just have a lot of questions and a lot of points to cover, your meeting might take longer than what they have set aside. So you want to establish, we think that this meeting is going to take 1 hour. We have many things to discuss. We'd like to make sure that we've allotted 2 hours for this meeting, or however much time that you think that it's going to be. And keep in mind, sometimes general education teachers think that they can be excused or leave the meeting. They're still a required participant for the full meeting. So when you're setting things up, figuring out where your meeting is going to be, do you have enough time set aside, and that we're getting the right people at the table. Next slide. You should receive a meeting notice, and a meeting notice is an official IEP document that's going to list the participants and the reasons for the meeting. An email that has the date and time, a Zoom link, a Teams link, those are not an official meeting notice. The meeting notice lets you know who is going to attend, and it also lets you know the reason for the meeting. I find that the meeting notice has important little hints and nuggets of information that can help you to plan for the meeting. I recently was in an eligibility meeting for a student who was being retested to determine if they would be continuing with special education services. And on the meeting notice, they had only checked eligibility and they did not check that they planned to write an IEP. And that gave us a hint as to, it sounds like they're going to try to discontinue the student services. We were right. And that allowed us to actually prepare some stronger evidence to keep that student supports in place. So the meeting notice is helpful, even though it's just a short document and can give you important information. Next slide, please. When you're setting up the meeting, you also want to request draft documents and evaluation reports. They're likely going to be discussing several pages of very technical information, and you want to have a chance to read and review it in advance because you don't want to read on the spot. You want to be able to listen and respond during the meeting because you've already read the information in advance. In order to meaningfully participate in the meeting, you need to have the same access to information as the other people on the team. So as you're setting your meeting up, part of that is also requesting, please send a draft IEP, please send the evaluation report a few days in advance so that we can review it and prepare our questions. Next slide. So that was all the setup, getting the time, date, and people in place. Next up, we're going to talk about your actual preparation before you attend the meeting. Next slide. So when your meeting is set up, you're going to review all the paperwork that you have. You've asked for a draft IEP. You probably also have progress reports, work samples. If your child has any private services, you might have information from those providers. Review all of that information and kind of get yourself together as to what are the things that you would like to ask for in your upcoming IEP meeting. Do you feel like your child needs certain goals? Do you feel like they need specific accommodations? Are there specific services or a certain placement that you feel like they need? Do you feel like your child needs an updated evaluation or to be evaluated for something else that they might not already be receiving services for? Take some time to review all your information and figure out what's your ask. Once you've done that, plan for how you're going to advocate for those things in the meeting and how you're going to communicate during the meeting. Next slide, please. I mentioned before reviewing the meeting notice. Take note of the titles and positions of the people that are coming. If you see anybody that's not familiar, inquire about that person's role and why they're going to be attending the meeting. Another example of how this has been helpful, I had a family recently that a name that we didn't recognize was on a meeting notice. And when we found out who that person was, it was a person from another school and a different placement. And they had invited that person because they were planning to recommend that the child be removed from their school, which we did not want to do that. So again, reviewing that meeting notice and getting that information was very helpful. Sometimes you can also review the meeting notice and realize that a certain person that you feel like has helpful information needs to attend, or if it's a person that you feel like is not implementing the plan correctly, so you need them there to hear about the right way to implement your child's plan, you can request their presence in the meeting as well to make sure that you have everybody that you need at the table. Next slide. With the personalities and communication styles in the meeting, I want you to also spend some time thinking about, once you've reviewed that meeting list, think about which participants in the meeting are your allies, people that have been easy to work with and people that are likely to support your request. Those are the people that you want to get talking, ask them questions, ask their opinion, ask for their comments. If there is anybody that has been particularly adversarial, difficult to work with, try to plan ahead about what kind of roadblocks you think that they might try to pull up, and try to think of a counter for that so that you can work around those difficult situations. Next slide. So participants, I always say that you should consider bringing someone with you to a meeting. It could be your spouse, it could be a neighbor, it could be somebody from a local parent organization, somebody that can be there both to help you listen, to have a second ear there, and also to be an emotional support for you, because it's difficult to talk about your child's weaknesses. So having somebody else there to support you and to be a second set of ears that might catch something that you miss is a really, really good idea. If you feel like you need to bring an advocate or to bring an attorney, like I mentioned before, you want to let the school know in advance if you plan to bring one of those people with you, because sometimes they won't proceed if they have not been notified in advance. So you want to let them know if that's something that you plan to do. If it's a friend or family member, you can let them know, but if it's an advocate or an attorney, be aware they might shut down your meeting if you've not given advance notice. Next slide. Recording the meeting. I often recommend that if it's allowed in your state or your jurisdiction to record IEP meetings, if you choose to record the meeting, then you will have an exact record of what was stated. You can play back the recording. You can run it through a transcription program and have a transcript of the meeting. Most of the time, meeting recordings just sit on somebody's computer or device and they're not used again. Every now and then, if you have a situation that is escalating and it gets to the point that you have to file a complaint or go to due process, those are very, very helpful pieces of information and pieces of evidence to support your case. I recently worked with a family that we had a dispute that was not getting resolved. We filed a state complaint, and these were some of the key pieces of evidence that we used to support our claims. We had the actual transcript of the meeting and sent also the recording of the meeting so that the investigators could hear what was said that was in support of the position that we were taking. The meeting minutes that are written by the staff sometimes omit key pieces of information that you want to be included in the record. So that's another reason why it could be helpful. And if you are in a place, a two-party state where they don't allow recording, I always suggest that you are taking as detailed notes as you possibly can during the meeting and then writing up a post-meeting summary. And that could be used in place of the transcript or recording if you ever did need to escalate anything. Again, most of the time these aren't needed, but it's a nice, solid piece of insurance to have in your back pocket in the event that you would ever need to escalate a complaint. Next slide. Preparing your parent input. Once you've reviewed all the information, all your evaluations and draft IEP, I suggest that you write a parent input statement, a paragraph or two. Sometimes they get up to a page long, and talk about what you feel like is going well, what your concerns are, and what your proposed solutions are to any problems. So a few slides ago, I talked about thinking of, do you want different goals? Do you want different services? Do you want a certain service or placement? Specifically ask for that in writing in your IEP, or excuse me, in your parent input. So I recently did a membership workshop which covered this topic in more detail. Next slide. So I've talked about preparing for the meeting. Next up, we're going to jump into communicating during the meeting. Next slide. So you're ready to show up and advocate during the meeting. At the beginning of the meeting, it's a good idea to establish what's the meeting agenda, what's the order that we're planning to discuss everything, and to confirm who is the note taker. Like I said, sometimes they'll try to omit certain things and not put in things which might not make them sound favorable. So I have been known to say in meetings, Ms. Smith, you're the note taker. Make sure that you get that down, that Johnny was not receiving speech services for the past 2 months or something like that. Also, at the beginning of the meeting, you want to confirm that your parent input was received and that it's been entered into the present level section of the IEP. Writing your parent input is not enough. We also want to make sure that you either read it or at least paraphrase your parent input aloud during the meeting and lead a discussion on your main points. I have had some parents that I've worked with in the past that reported that even though they wrote a parent input and they put it in, that the team didn't want to discuss it in the meeting. I recently was in a meeting a couple of months ago where even though I was there working with the family as an advocate, we read the parent input and they were like, okay, next. And I was like, no, ma'am, like we have a lot to discuss from our concerns with this child's program. So writing your parent input, discussing it, and having a meaningful discussion about it. Again, getting back to meaningfully participating in the meeting. So during the meeting, you also want to provide information about your child for the team to consider. There are lots of things that happen outside of school that they need to know about in order to plan for the school services. You want to ask questions about any information that the team presented that you're unsure of or that it doesn't sound clear. And you want to make sure that everything gets recorded in the meeting minutes and in the documentation of the meeting. So what they're saying during the meeting, you want to double check everything to make sure all the changes that you've discussed are recorded correctly and that the meeting minutes have been recorded correctly. Next slide, please. So a review of everything that we've discussed, we talked about the 3 pillars of IEP advocacy. That would be making sure that you understand the clinical implications of your child's diagnosis or disability, making sure that you understand the special education rules and procedures, and then also thinking about your communication and relationship with the team so that you can work together to get things done in favor of your child. We talked about meaningful parent participation, and we did the compare and contrast between, are you just sitting there letting the school team serve up anything they want in the IEP, or are you actively participating, providing information, asking questions, and being an integral part of the decision making? So we definitely want you to participate meaningfully, not just present in the seat at the meeting. We talked about setting your meeting up for success, getting it at a time that works for you, getting everyone that you need at the table, getting enough time set aside for the meeting, requesting the paperwork to review in advance. Preparing for your meeting, we talked about making a game plan as to what you want to ask for, writing your parent input so that you can submit it to be included in the record. And we talked about effectively communicating during the meeting, sharing your concerns, making sure that your concerns get discussed, and asking for the things that your child needs so that they can be included in the plan. Next slide. So that's kind of an overview of my main suggestions for preparing for IEP meetings. My mission at Your IEP Source is to bring knowledge, skills, and positivity to the special education advocacy community. I've got some blog articles. I send a weekly newsletter. This week, I featured this event in my weekly newsletter to let families know that this event was going on. I have workshops, courses, I have a membership program, and I also work with families one-on-one to assist with IEPs. Next slide. And again, I mentioned I do have the 20-page ebook, My Child Has an IEP, Now What? It's going to give you IEP timelines, beginning of the year checklist, meeting prep task checklist, top tips, IEP at a glance notes to take down. And you can also follow me on Facebook and Instagram at Your IEP Source. If you're interested in joining my membership community, I did put a promo code in place for people that are participating today to get half off your first month. You would use the code TRAVEL2024 if you were interested in joining. But that ebook will give you a lot of great information to get you started. So that is a wrap on the information that I have prepared. Thank you.
Dr. Brandy Tanner, thank you so much. I took some notes down because every time I hear you speak, I learn something new. So the 3 pillars of the IEP, advocacy success, make sure you get her free IEP guide. We're going to put your website up again. It's youriepsource.com. Fabulous information there. I'm going to write up my parent input because, like I said, I have my youngest son's IEP coming up here at the end of the month. So I learned something about that too. But folks, make sure you get that guide, free download. She has her, what did you call it? Your parent group that you can join. So you'll get monthly newsletters, you get coaching advice. I mean, where else can you get an advocate's coaching advice? So make sure you go to, you can find her on Instagram, Facebook. You have her website down below. Make sure you check out all her goodies. She, again, coaching advice. I love that newsletter, and she gives monthly training as well. So make sure you follow her. Round of applause for Dr. Brandy Tanner. Great information today, as always. I thank you so much for coming out today.
Thank you.
Or coming in today, I guess. Thank you again. I appreciate you. Wasn't that fabulous? I hope you all took notes. I have my little note page here because I am taking, last year I heard her speak. This year, I was so fortunate again for her to agree to come today and present. And again, get your IEP guide at her email that's down below on the screen. You will not regret it. And join her group coaching. You won't regret it. I mean, she's just fabulous, and her newsletter. So huge, huge thanks to Dr. Brandy Tanner again. And you heard at the beginning how many years of experience she has, both on as a sibling of a brother in the classroom, and her psychology degree, autism training. I mean, she has it all. I don't even know when she has time to sleep because she's fabulous. Next, we're going to move on to two other fabulous ladies. They walk in our shoes every day. They both are parents of uh, children that have autism. But I want to give you a little brief summary of what these ladies, these fabulous ladies, are about. The first one is Tanya Hines. Her and James Hines have a child on the spectrum. And you know what they did? Instead of just being a parent, they went up and above and beyond, and they started a nonprofit called Experienced Autism Alliance. And what it is it connects families and they link them to local resources and offer one-on-one consulting to help parents. But they didn't stop there. They raise money throughout the year and give and provide grants to folks. I know one of the grants was to provide an adaptive bicycle. But you know what? They didn't stop there either. They started a local lemonade stand. They hire folks. It's not like your regular lemonade stand. It's not kids out there making this super sweet lemonade. They hire kids that are on the spectrum and provide them with meaningful employment. Isn't that fabulous? I think at my next event that I have, I'm going to hire them to come and provide lemonade to folks. I absolutely love this, and promote inclusivity in the community. So it's a mobile lemonade stand. So they aren't just one place. They go around the community and provide lemonade. Isn't that fabulous? And it allows the kids to continue their personal growth and meaningful work. The kids, I can't even believe this. This is fabulous. The next lady that I would like to bring up, she's another travel agent. Her name is Dina Farmer, and she has a child on the spectrum. I just love these ladies because they're trying to do and help other folks like us. And so she started Spectrum Getaway Travel. Spectrum Getaway Travels. Make sure I got that right. And she saw how travel boosted her Spectrum Getaways. Sorry, thank you very much. Spectrum Getaways. And she saw how much confidence travel boosted her son. And she wanted to do this for others. They've traveled so much. It's incredible. But to be able to see that was not only confidence boosting, but it was empowering for her son. And so she knew that she just had to pass this gift along to other people. And that's what she did. She started her travel company and she started empowering others, not just in her community, but all around, to be able to travel. When people think it's hopeless, there is hope. And that's what she does, is she gives the gift of hope to others. So I want to bring to the stage Tanya Hines and Dina Farmer. Yay! Welcome, lady. I'm so glad that you're here today with us. It's amazing. And it doesn't matter. We're not out in the heat. I know people are like, 90s, oh, girl. But hey, I love that better than snow. How about y'all?
Yes.
I love it. I love it.
But I think we're all in Florida, so it's really hot here.
Yeah. I love that, though, better than snow. I think my mom is going to be in the 30s in Northeast Ohio. So you can have that. You can have that. I'll take my heat, my little fan. So, well, why don't you tell me about your sons so that the folks understand how old they are, and a little bit about your families.
Who are you starting with? Me?
Okay, Tanya, why don't you go ahead and start? I'll point to somebody.
I'll go first. So I have three sons. Avery is my youngest son. He's 19, and he is my son that has autism. I'm a military wife. My husband just recently retired, probably about 2 years ago. I have two older sons who are also in the military, and so we call ourselves semi-empty nesters now because it's just the three of us at the house right now. So yes, I'm a boy mom, Floridian. And like I said, my youngest son, Avery, he's 19 and he has autism. He has severe autism. He's nonverbal, but he knows exactly what's going on. Yeah, he knows exactly what's going on. He was diagnosed, I guess it's been about 18 years now. So I like to call myself an OG in this because I've been doing it for a while. So when he was diagnosed, I knew nothing about autism. I never met anyone that I knew of that had autism. So I knew nothing. I just knew that he was different from my other two boys. My boys are all pretty close in age. And so Avery wasn't hitting the milestones that the other boys were doing. I kind of suspected something was different, but I didn't know what. And, I figured out something was going on and I presented it to the doctor, and we moved on and got him diagnosed. But it was because I had to be proactive very early on. Like I said, my boys are pretty close in age. My husband and I have been married for 24 years. So I was a young mom. I had all three of my boys 25. And so now I have like this kid that I don't know anything. I barely knew how to take care of the other two. And then now I have this one, and so, but I knew that I had to be the one to get him the needs that the services that he needed. And so, like I said, that was kind of just early on. I'm a go-getter. I'm very much a problem solver. And so as soon as he was diagnosed, I just was like, I have to fix this. I'm a fixer. And so I just, in my mind, I had to fix this. And so I jumped in the deep end. And that's when I quickly realized that it was back then. I think I had to do a lot of digging to get the services for him. Yeah. Whereas now I almost feel like it's overwhelming. Like it's every turn, it's everywhere you go. It's just, it's a lot. So I can't imagine having a child that's diagnosed right now versus 18 years ago, because like I said, it's so much right now. So over the years, I knew like I wanted to create something for parents, by parents. I think relating to someone that's going through the same thing. I live this every day. I'm in it. And so speaking to other parents that understand the struggles that we go through, I think it's just very relatable. It's other organizations that are fabulous out there that does similar work that we do. But I think we're a little bit different because when you call, you will speak to a parent that has a child or an adult somewhere on the spectrum. And that's why we're pretty diverse. We have, like I said, my son's on the severe end, he's nonverbal, but we also have parents that have kids that are, in college, they're working, but they're also on the spectrum. We have some that are in between. Girls, like I said, I'm a boy mom. One of our board members has a daughter, and I've had calls of my daughter's starting her period and she has autism and she's nonverbal and what do I do? And I'm like, I don't know, but our board member has a daughter and I get them together, and so that's really what started the whole of just connecting families, connecting parents. It was all about the parents in the beginning, and just connecting them to resources that that they may not be aware of or have the time to connect with. So that's kind of how we started everything. And then we moved into grants. So we try to give out grants. And so we do adapt just things that are not covered by insurance. So not every family is fortunate to be able to purchase a adaptive bike like we have. It was $1,600. My son's adaptive stroller that we had, TRICARE, and not everyone has or had, TRICARE to pay for this $1,200 stroller, so we were able to purchase adaptive strollers for the kids that are too big for a regular stroller. That's what we had. We also do water safety grants. We do in-home safety. We had a family whose son had broke a window and they had a board up because they couldn't afford to pay for the window. So then we were able to get that window fixed and provide them with plexiglass to prevent him from breaking in again. So that's kind of where our grant program, our Autism Impact grant program is about. And then you talked about Spectrum Squeeze is our
I
lemonade.
love it. I absolutely
Yeah.
love it.
I just came back from an event today. So it was, now that my son's older, I'm meeting a lot of parents that have older adults,
Yeah.
teens and adults. And the number one call is my kid's sitting home doing nothing. They
Yep.
want something. And I was just like, we should do something different. It's coffee shops, it's this, it's that. And I was like, why not lemonade? Anyone can do that. Like it's so like it's so easy and it's so good. And that's how we kind of started. And so now we started in October and we're mobile. And it's not just autism. Today we had a girl, she's 26. She has CP. She's in a wheelchair, but she worked the register today. And
I love.
great. Like, and she reached out. She's like, I'm not good at counting money. And so I go, guess where you're going? You're sitting at the register and so we have volunteers. So she has a volunteer that's there to help her. And I'm like, the more you do it, the better you're going to get. So she's making a little money and she's getting confident in her money management and communication and counting money and all that good stuff. So that is what Spectrum Suite is about. Like you said, providing meaningful employment. And I hope that other employers can possibly see what we're doing to see like these guys can work. They want to work. We have a fella, he's 56. He's 56 years old. He's amazing. We did a seafood festival last year. It was a 2-day event. He came and he worked those 2 days. Like he was awesome, but he just wants to work. He wants to do something, and giving him this opportunity, he loves it. So it was fabulous.
Well, there's another aspect to that. There's social too.
Exactly.
There's some social skills. It's not just the math. It's not just the meaningful employment, but there's social skills in that as well.
Right. So it's just like they're learning. Right. So it's teamwork. It's back at the house. We have to make clean. It's sugar and syrup everywhere. We're cleaning up as we go. We're slicing lemons. It's set up, break down. They're learning time management. So it's just like we have to have this tent set up in the next 30 minutes. So it's just like it's teamwork. So it's kind of it's a combination of everything, and so we do like a little evaluation with anyone that applies. We kind of talk about what their strengths are to where we kind of can fit, if it's going to be a good fit for them or not. And then they come out, they do like a shadowing day, the first day or so. And then after that, if it's something that they would like to continue, we add them on our schedule. And it's kind of a rotating, because we really only need about 1 to 2 kids. And then we have the volunteers. And so we just kind of rotate them out. So eventually we will hopefully get like a permanent spot and not be like some carnies traveling all over the place.
But there's something to be said, because I automatically thought, well, maybe they could do Teacher Appreciation Week and come out and do that. Yeah, I would love that for my son's school, something like that. Or
so that's why
that's me. Yeah. Dina, I'd love to hear your story of how you came to be a travel agent.
Well, okay, so I'm Dina Farmer, and I'm a U.S. Air Force veteran, now a spouse. So we're all military affiliated. Yeah. So I laugh when you talked about TRICARE, because I'm like, sometimes they're a nightmare when it comes to stuff. But anyway, so after I got out of the Air Force, I was a stay-at-home mom, and it was incredibly hard to find a job as a military spouse, because we pick up every 4 years. Yes. And thankfully, I say thankfully, because it was easier for me to start my travel agency because we were still in the US. So I started my travel agency in Colorado, but before that, I had no job. So, several years of not having a job. And I was like, I know my husband's not going to retire anytime soon, but now, like, this is our last year in the Air Force. And I'm like, what are we going to do? Retirement is pending. It's at the end of the year. And I tried to work at the exchange. I tried to do remote work, all the things, but there's always certifications that you need. And it just became really hard to maintain a job and then to also be a mom of 2 little boys. And my oldest son was diagnosed with autism in 2019. And then when we moved here to Florida, my youngest son was diagnosed with autism. So it was just like, now I'm going through the fire hose of information, which is the opposite experience of you, Tanya, where it was like, here's your autism diagnosis, and here's blah, 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 blah. Have a nice life. And I'm like, whoa, 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 but where do I start? You know, it was a lot. So it was a lot of going to, once we got all the information and it was like, okay, we're going to do this therapy, this therapy, this therapy, this therapy. How am I going to have a job? And still take my kid through over 40 hours of therapy a week, you know, well, both of them. So I planned a trip to Disney World for a friend of mine, and she was like, oh my God, you made this super duper easy. Why don't you become a travel agent? And I was like, what? Travel agents don't exist anymore. I'm sure that they do. Find out about it. And I did. And I almost joined a Disney only travel agency until I found this other, they're no longer around, but there was another military spouse that made a host agency that helped military spouses become travel agents. And she's closed down, but then I moved on and I just started booking like Disney only, cruises only. And like I said, my oldest son was diagnosed with autism. And I quickly pivoted once I got that diagnosis because I said, autism's never going to go away. He's never going to outgrow it. But how can I travel the world, but make it comfortable for him? And so while I was navigating that, I also found that other families that I connected to had no support as far as traveling with an autistic child. There was lots of questions, or they just forego traveling at all because it was really hard, and not for necessarily because of behaviors and challenges, but more so because there was just no support out there. And not yet, buddy. And my youngest son sitting here, he's on his tablet. Oh, he wants a Oreo cookie. I will give it to you in just 1 second, okay? But the challenge, I guess, was really that the travel industry didn't really have any help necessarily until the world shut down through the wonderful thing that happened in 2020. And then all of a sudden there was this, I felt like as a travel agent, there was a huge spotlight on autism and looking at it and going, hey, this is a whole sector of people that really want to travel the world, but we are not helping at all. And I noticed that beaches started popping up, Royal Caribbean started helping, Carnival started helping, Disney has started helping, Charisma. There's so many resorts that have started saying, hey, maybe we should start helping these travelers because it's a problem. They want to travel the world. And I said, let's do this together. And so I decided to use the resources from those tourism operators, as well as my own agency, to help families with autistic children travel the world because of what I've learned. And while, you know, you've met one person with autism, you've only met one person with autism, some of the things that I've learned have helped families get out there with less challenges, if that makes sense. Because I experience things and I go, oh, no, whoops, that was a big mistake. So what should I do in the future? Maybe more pre-teaching, like the muster drill on the Disney Magic, which was a horrible nightmare. It was so terrible. And no matter amount of pre-teaching for my kid helped until we experienced it. I was like, okay, now in the future, I know this is what I should do. And then when I have another family that has hesitancy about going on a cruise ship, this is probably what I would recommend for them to do to help make that travel experience a lot easier. So while any travel agent can absolutely book you a vacation, I tailored my services to be more than just booking a vacation. It's definitely, I'm here for you if you need to chat about your vacation, or you have a lot of hesitancy, or you're worried that your child's not going to be able to eat anything because they only eat a certain apple, or, you know, they only eat certain applesauce from Target and this brand of chicken nuggets. Like, how can we ship them to Costa Rica, for example? So yeah, it's a passion project of mine because of my kids. I decided, why not help other people that probably want to travel the world too? Let me get this mint chocolate. Kill me. I'll be right back.
Okay. What do you think has been a challenge? I guess my question would be, why did you choose the way that maybe your nonprofit to advocate for others? Why did you choose that versus, I don't know, being on a board of something or why did you choose your nonprofit as a way to advocate for others?
Well, I like to talk and run.
We can't tell.
Yeah, I love telling my story, and it's a constant. I believe in giving the good, the bad, and the ugly, and I'm okay with telling the dark side of autism that's not talked about. I'm okay talking about. I love talking about praising and all that good stuff. So but I'm also I want to help people. I truly, I love helping people, and I wanted to be able to help people going through this era journey. And oddly enough, it's almost like therapy for me when I can sit down and talk to someone, and then I kind of reflect on things that's going on personally with me, and then I can kind of talk that out with another parent. So it's a combination of I love to talk, I love to share my story, I love helping people, and that's just really why I wanted to create my own thing, because I wanted it to be, my way. And so that's why I started it. And like I said, I truly do. It makes me feel so good just to be able to talk to someone, wherever they're at on their journey, like whether they're like living similar lives to mine or another life. Like I've sat down with a mom whose son is my age, but her son is that he's verbal, and he's high, he's more high functioning. And even though we're in the same storm, we're just not on the same boat. And so, and sometimes I think about like we literally were at a coffee shop crying together. Like I can't relate to the struggles that she's going through because her son was having whatever issues he was having at school, because my son, he doesn't have a friend and a girlfriend that broke up with him and made him this way. He'll never have that. But the fact that we're both in this storm together, and we were able to relate, and just being able to relate to other parents. So that's just kind of how I just, I just like helping people. And that's why I really wanted to start this and make it kind of just different. And so that's really it.
But I think you can relate, because
yeah.
I've wanted, my son I have 2 on the spectrum as well. And my little Noe, he was nonverbal at 4.5. He did start, he's made up for it. Listen, he has made up for it. Nobody else can talk. He even talks when he's playing video games by himself.
Oh my gosh. I know that.
Talking, right? And he'll call everybody their friend, because that's the word that they use in school. He's oblivious if he has a friend or not. But my prayer for my eldest, who is higher functioning, since he's been 8, is to have a friend. Friend, right? So I think we can all relate. I want him to have a friend, because he knows, he recognizes that. Just to have a friend. He's 16. To have a friend.
Yeah.
And I don't want to
get it. That's been like with my older 2. So my oldest son is he'll be 23, and then I have a 21. And then Avery's 19. And so Avery's, his friends have been his brothers.
Right.
And they're gone now. So that was like such not only my husband and I adjusting to life with our 2 sons gone, just out of the state, they're just gone. Avery's now adjusting to a life where his friends are gone, like his best buds are gone. But we've adjusted very well. And like you guys, it's with the whole travel, we having the 3 boys and then having Avery, we did not travel by plane with Avery when he was younger. And when we did go on cruises, we had took the other 2, because at that time in our life, the cruise ship probably would have been way too much for Avery, because his behaviors were just,
it's a lot of sensory.
Right. And so honestly, he would probably have been, he was good staying back with my mom while my boys and my husband and I went on the cruise. But now, Avery's in a different space. He's matured. And now this kid's like a frequent flyer. Like he's flown 6 times now, and we just put his passport in. So it's just like, I'm not sure if we're gonna do a long flight with him yet, but we
Yeah.
just want to have it just in case. But the travel has just been it's life changing, and like you said, everyone deserves to travel, and
Yeah.
he's been a rock star, and I think I preach to parents and moms, and we push this kid, because I have two other neurotypical kids who I love them just as much as him, Avery. So it's just like you can't just kind of stick to one kid. I had the three kids. So we really had to push Avery, and we pushed him for years on, like, you have to go to your brother's games. I'm not missing your brother's games. Like,
Right.
we're going to restaurants, and he would have epic meltdowns, and we would leave, and Disney and all of that stuff. But now it's paid off, because we pushed and pushed. It sucked. And that's what I tell people. It sucks.
Yeah.
There's nothing.
The journey to get there is
it's nothing fun about it at all. But
No.
he's 19 right now. Like I said, he can go on a plane. We haven't done a cruise ship yet, because I think he would be fine. I think the cruise, the issue would be that it's a lot of people, and he really doesn't like big crowds, especially in the beginning with the getting on, everyone crowded together, and he's really loud. So I don't know what room we would get, because
none of the rooms are very insulated. That's for sure.
He's really loud, but happy loud,
Right.
Yeah.
But,
so, Dina, I want to ask you, what have you enjoyed most about your journey to get from not sure I'm going to do this to I'm a full-fledged travel agent, and my unique niche is for those that are neurodivergent? What have you enjoyed most about your journey?
I think the biggest, reward is that I have a form or an email I send to my clients after they come home from their vacation to just tell me, I'm always available whenever, but to tell me how the vacation went, and like how I can improve my processes. And I will say one thing about the autism community is that we are very candid. We won't hold anything back with something that goes wrong. And that's why I really love that, because it's like, there could be, the hotel wasn't the right hotel for us, or, something like that. But when the families come home and they tell me how rewarding that experience has been, or how they created memories with their child, oh my gosh, it fills me with so much joy, because it's not only my journey, but it's theirs as well, right? So we're in it together, and watching and hearing, especially if they'll share it with me on social media, their live play of it. It's like seeing their child that might be non-vocal being able to go to a pool and not have anybody staring at them, or being able to just get in the water without having a meltdown, or something to that effect. Being able to, like in the example with my oldest son, going to go see something that he's wanted to go see since he was 4 years old, which is a Mayan temple. He's been talking about it since 4 years old. We're stationed in Hawaii, and he's been talking about it for 8 years, and being able to finally go and say, like, here's one in Progreso, Mexico. What do you think about it? And he was like, this is great. I love it. I'm so glad that we finally did it. I can't believe I actually get to touch it. And I said, yeah, that's why I wanted to go to this destination, is because unlike the one that we went to in Progreso, the big one that everybody thinks about in Cancun, Chichen Itza, you can't actually go on that. So it was super, I don't know. Like, I don't want to cry, but like, it was just really great for him to like climb it and learn some of the not so great history of the area. I don't want to talk about it, but like, just the reward in that it creates world citizens and travelers, and that they really want to go and see the world more rather than staying in their own backyard. And I love that, because my youngest son too talks about, he loves cruises now. And I'm like, thank goodness. But his stipulation is it can only be 4 days or shorter. So just like, okay, we can do it. 4 days is easy. We live here in Florida. I mean, it's a 7-hour drive down to Port Canaveral for us, but we can do it. So
that's a little bit of a drive.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're up here in the Panhandle, so I'm an hour behind all of you. So I'm in
Oh,
lower.
wow. Okay. Wow. I did not know that.
Yeah.
I don't know what I was thinking. I was thinking maybe you were at Fort Lauderdale. But it
Oh.
is, we are advantaged to being here because we do have all of these ports. So
That is true.
uh,
I have to go. The nearest port is New Orleans, which is like 3 hours away. So
I have
that's
traveled
where
out of there.
Yeah, and it's a really small port, but totally doable. I like it.
Yeah, we lived in Alabama. I was stationed in Alabama for several years. So that was like a 6-hour drive for us. But we would take it because at least it's drivable. Like you said, it's doable. It's, of course, they have bigger ships out of there now. So not like they used to, girl. They were just like, okay, we'll still take it because it's vacation.
Yeah.
We'll still take
So
it.
true. It's so true.
What are some unique ways that you use your platform for? Any?
For me, I think the lemonade stand, I think, is the unique for us. And like I said, like we typically set up, we're able to set up the lemonade stand, and then we've got, individuals, teens and adults, all different types of abilities. I think actually people seeing, like I said earlier, seeing that, look at this person, being able to do XYZ. And we had a girl today, she's 18. She worked with us also. So we had our girl at the register. And then we had a girl with us, she's 18. She's nonverbal, but she fully, we showed her one time how to do it all. And so, but I think what gets us to see this platform is that the customers are just in awe, because I think a lot of people maybe just think like, oh my gosh, look at what she's doing. I had no clue. And then I'm able to fill them in about the nonprofit side of what we do and the lemonade stand and why we created it. So I think that's probably our most unique, is just having the lemonade stand and being able to put it front and center and showing off these talents that these kiddos have. So yeah.
And it's always, I always like to say, especially when people are nonverbal and non-vocal, is always assume competence. Always.
Right. Yes.
Always.
Yes.
Always.
I would say I think I read a blog that someone wrote, and it didn't hit me until I read that. But the lady had said that because her son's nonverbal, and they were just like, oh, look, he is smart. And I get that all because my son, and if he does something, they'll say like, oh my God, he's just so smart. He is smart. And I'm like, he knows what's going on. Like, he knows what's going on. But and that's what gets me, because it's just like, they were just like, oh, he is. And I hear it all the time, and I'm always like, yeah, well, yeah, he is. He knows what's going on. But,
oh my God. Wow.
He is smart. It's just like, yeah. He is. Oh.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
You just
I laugh a lot.
Which,
I have to.
Oh my gosh.
You have to. But it's just kind of and I just read that in a blog, and I just like, oh my God, and that's what people, like you said, they just think like, oh, she doesn't. And I'm like, she knows.
Yeah.
And she can do it. Yeah.
They hear everything. It's not like you're not deaf.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You're not deaf. They hear everything. They see everything that is going on around them.
Exactly. Yeah. So yeah.
Oh my goodness, people, they're getting on my last nerve already.
I know it.
I just can't. What have you enjoyed most about your journey with your families?
I think it's the confidence that's grown since my boys have started traveling. So like, I start baby steps. Like when we were stationed in Colorado, we would go to Disneyland because technically it was closer than Florida. It was a 2-hour flight, so it was easier. But I was really working on my oldest son talking to strangers, because he was really hesitant when it came to talking to strangers, and he would make me do everything, even to like order something from a restaurant. He would refuse to say anything. So I started pen trading at Disney, and I bought him a bunch of pens, and he wore a lanyard, and we would take them, and I would say, hey, I'm not going to help you pen trade. you've got to go up to the cast member and ask them. And I would give him like his words to say and then to exchange pens. And I said, but it's okay if the cast member says no, even though they don't say no, but like it would be okay if they did. And through that, like he started slowly building confidence of I can pen trade with cast members. Now I'm able to go to a restaurant and order something. Now I'm even able to go up to a child who I don't know and ask them to play with me. And like that right there is like, that's how we build friendships, right? And I've seen that like, because of these little teeny tiny things with travel, it's built like so much confidence. And now you meet him and maybe he's hesitant to talk to you at first, but you give him like an hour and now he'll tell you everything he knows about every single country and every single flag in the world. And I'm just like, I can't open this debate with you. Like, I don't know.
I love it.
I love it.
Yeah, it's amazing. And then like with my youngest son too, it's kind of similar in that he's my homebody. So how do I get him to leave the house more often?
Yeah. Yes.
And we go frequently to places around here in Northwest Florida. But then I also, when we approach strangers and he looks like he wants to talk about something to somebody, I'll bring up his special interest, which is space, because he's convinced he's going to work for NASA someday. He's going to be the young person. Like, he loves space. So I always say like, oh, tell us what's the biggest black hole in the universe. And then he's like, oh, I know it. And he'll just keep diving into it. And hopefully somebody will join in on his special interests. And so I think it's just the communication that I watched them grow from traveling, and I'm just like, this is so great. Let's keep doing it until I die. Like, and then you guys travel together.
That's amazing.
Yeah, so much confidence grown. Anyway,
how about you, Tanya? Do you have a special moment in your journey that you'd like to share?
Just in my journey,
you enjoyed most? Your family or your business? Or?
It really, I have to say, like everything revolves. I love, like I said earlier, the way I love helping people and being able to someone to reach back out to me and they say like, oh my God, you connected me to, especially to this travel. I can't wait to start talking to other parents about connecting them to different travel agents that specializes with the kids with autism. But I think just connecting with families and hearing their stories of me being able to help them in any way, even if it's just like, hey, I gave you my dentist who's fabulous, just any little thing. So that's what just I love the most. Yeah, just love that. Yeah.
I love hearing from families, kind of, Dina, the same thing, but I think I know it's going to sound weird, but we were in an elevator one time. This adult looks over at my eldest son. He was maybe 12 or 14 at the time. And he was just going to talk to him like, hey, how many cruises have you been on? And I don't even know why he's just trying to get a one-up on a child. Well, he is. He's right. He's this grown-up. And my son looks at him. He's like, I've been on 14 cruises. And he's like, and he turns back around. He's like, oh, okay. I've only been on 3. Well, why are you going to ask a child? Why are you going to one up a child? Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But I'm glad that when my son had the confidence, because usually he's finally getting confidence to talk to other people. We've been trying to make sure that he goes out into settings, like you said, order his own food, or go up and if it's a fast food restaurant, we'll say, oh, I forgot the ketchup, to make him go ask.
Yes.
Oh, I forgot the mustard.
Me do it.
Yeah, exactly. Hey, can you go up and ask for some mustard? I forgot the mustard for my hamburger. We find opportunities, especially after COVID. They wouldn't even put out the napkins. You could go ask for napkins. They were like stingy with everything.
Yeah.
But we turned that into an opportunity to make them get up there and interact with people. So for us, it was great. Because it got them away from the table, so we weren't having to answer a million questions, but also it gave them an opportunity to work on their social skills. But I couldn't believe this guy. You're an old fart. Why are you trying to punk my kid? Like, who cares? Okay, all right, you just turn back around.
Yeah.
But it gave my son an opportunity to be vocal in his community and not be shy about it. So Yeah. So it was great that he was able to speak up for himself.
And I'm glad he had. I'm like, it sucks that man behaved that way, but in retrospect, like, I'm glad he had that opportunity to do that, because it's like we got to deal with people that are less than every single day of our lives. So
right.
I'm glad he took that with so much grace too.
Yeah, he was, and then and he smiled. And Jacob's not like that. He's really quiet and shy kid. Not shy. I guess it's trying to get confidence in himself. Mm-hmm. Really, that's what we've been working on, is confidence in the community. But yeah, it was amazing. I was really proud of him to respond, to talk to somebody, to talk to a stranger. Like you said, Dina, it's having that confidence in talking to strangers, and it's not stranger danger. It has nothing to do with that. It just is people that he doesn't know. That's what it is.
And I worry about that too, because especially when they're adults, and like if they have to go to the doctor, or if they have to go to the DMV, or anything, like waiting at the counter and then not saying anything.
Yeah.
It's like, well, you have to be able to advocate for themselves, and they can't do that because I'm not going to be on this earth forever. And I realize that I want to be, but I know I won't. So I really want them to have those tools available to them, and the confidence to speak up and say, I just need an ID card for something, And
so, well, Jacob was at the surf simulator on Royal Caribbean because he loves that. And so he was up there, and the guy thought that he didn't speak English. My kids are Asian. And so I saw where he wasn't getting the, so I ran up there, and he's like, well, does he speak English? I'm like, first of all, that's really not appropriate to say.
Right.
But yes, he's autistic. Yeah. And he's like, oh, well, and then he just said it a different way where Jacob got on he was able to do it, to stay on his stomach and do it. And then the guy really was delightful and stayed with him for 5 minutes. So he had a really nice run. But yeah, having to explain to him that he's autistic, and then he got a super experience. But first, can you just not say he doesn't speak English?
Right. Don't make that assumption.
Yeah, we had so with my other boys, I had took like a parenting class thing right after Avery was diagnosed, my husband and I. And so it's this doctor, I can't think of her name. She was in Sarasota. But she was like, these kids, it needs to be black and white. Treat them like how you treat your other boys, and it was just like, okay. Cause and if you give Avery a little bit,
oh yes,
with it. But with you guys are talking about teaching the confidence. And so with my other boys, I remember, my two older boys had to have a physical. So they had appointments with their pediatrician, and Avery was just not wanting to sit in the waiting room. So we were in my minivan. So I took Avery, and I told the nurse, I said, I'm going to be in the car. My other two boys are in the waiting room. And then when the doctor comes, they're going to call me, and then we'll all go in. But they had to fill out some forms. But it was because they were in middle school. So it was just like, you guys fill these forms out, so it was just kind of teaching them, this is about you. This is know your address. How are you feeling? This and this and that. But it was really, like you said, ordering. And it was, I kind of thought of it the same as like you said, going to a restaurant. My boys would have to order their own food, speak to the server. And then that's the same at the doctor's office. They would look at me. I'm like, I don't know how you're feeling. Tell her how you're
right.
I'm not in your body. You tell them.
How does this feel to you? Right.
But they did. So we're in the car. And so my middle son calls. So he's like, Mom, I'm filling out these forms. And he's like, have I ever had tuberculosis? And I'm like, do not check yes, no. But now we know he's never had tuberculosis.
Oh my God.
That's great.
Okay, in that case, he can call you.
That is hilarious.
I was like, oh my gosh. No, do not tell her that either.
Oh no.
So I wanted to ask you, as a parent in their own community, do you worry about acceptance? Do you think there's a hurdles towards acceptance? Are we still fighting this? Acceptance or awareness? Are we on towards acceptance now? I saw where Autism Speaks. They didn't really, they said awareness and acceptance. Some are of the opinion that we're over awareness and we're now on acceptance. What are your thoughts about that?
I feel, and I was just talking to someone about that, and I hate that this community has such a divide on verbiage. To
Right.
me, it's such
Yes.
we have so many problems, and it's just like we are just so it just drives me crazy. But to me, I feel like the awareness, like people are like, oh, people are aware of autism, but they don't, a lot of people are not aware of the full spectrum. Like you said earlier, like you may have met one person with autism, doesn't mean like you've met. So it's just like when someone meets or hears about my son, they're just like, oh, because someone has asked me several times, different people, oh my God, literally they said, what ability does your son have? And I said, well, he's not part of X-Men. Like he's not going to, he does.
Rain Man, right?
Right. And I was like, that's not, and I think that's the part where it's just like, you see TV, and I think, or maybe just people they know that it's one-sided, and it's a whole nother. It's a full spectrum, but no one, and I feel like that's why I think awareness needs to stay, because a lot of people are not aware that
it's a
a
spectrum.
lot of kids have major behavior problems. A lot of people, like I said, I like to talk about things that are the good, the bad, the ugly. My son has behavior problems. My son has aggression. He was 15 before he was fully potty trained.
Yeah.
No one wants to talk about that. No one wants to talk about that, a 15-year-old. And some kids they're adults and they're still not potty trained,
Right.
So it's like you said, it's the eating, it's all of these other things that's not always fluff,
Yeah.
And so I do think that we need to keep awareness, because we need to be aware of the full spectrum, and that's what I mean. Like, it's the whole acceptance. Yes, of course, please accept us. But I don't think we need to go away from awareness, because it is still so many people that are clueless to this huge spectrum. And so that's kind of how I feel about. And so that's why I will continue to say awareness, because I do think that it's nothing wrong with spreading awareness and spreading my son's type of autism versus someone else's, your son's autism. You know what I mean? Like everyone needs to know to fully understand that it's a full spectrum,
Yeah, because I think they see the top end or they see the bottom end, but there's a lot of kids like,
right. You have the folks that are in between,
Right.
And like I said, it's just the someone had said to me, I said my son's age, and they were just like, oh, is he in college? And I'm like, no, he's fine. And I know that she was super sweet about it, but it's just like she was not aware of, in her mind, it just was one end, and she did not. Right. And then when I do educate, and then it's like you feel, I didn't feel bad, but I really was really nice about it, and it does not hurt my feelings. And they're just like, oh, I don't want to offend. And I'm like, no, give me the questions, because I want to educate you. So please ask away. Like, it doesn't bother me to, and I that's what I enjoy. I enjoy people ask the question, so that so I guess that's a hurdle. I think it's just like the looking at the full spectrum. I'm so busy and focused on when we're out and about, like I don't really notice if someone's staring, unless it's like very obvious or they say something. I'm like trying to get in and out. This kid is ready to go. Like, I don't have time to. I don't care unless
That's usually when we're coming back in from a meltdown and he's behaving and is nice. That's when I kind of see it. When I'm on my way out, all I'm focused on is my kid, getting him out quickly. Yeah. And so we're not disturbing people. And that's what you're right. I'm not, and I really don't care what people think.
I truly do not care. Like, I do not know you. I truly do not care. Like, right. Unless they, like I said, come to me and say something, then.
Right. And I hate that with, like, even when they're in like a meltdown, and people are like, oh, if you could just get them to, especially when they're younger, it gets them to stop crying. I'm like,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that's worked on
Where's
anybody.
that magic pill?
Stop crying.
Yeah. And even now, like with the older, it's when he was younger, I think I had more people say like, oh my gosh, like, oh, but now that I'm 5'9", he's taller than me now. He's a man. And so now it's very obvious. And so now it's that, but before it was the looks of like, oh my God, control your kid. But now it's just that like, and I'm like,
too much candy. He's having a meltdown. Take away his toys. Bad kid. Yes. Yeah, for sure. And people don't understand. And our little kid, our little one, he's very small, very tiny. And when he was 12, he even looked younger, and people just would. We've had him at the zoo, at the rush. I mean, it doesn't matter because you have to try to put him where he can calm himself down. Just find that state. But it is. It's definitely hard. How about you, Dina? What are your thoughts about I mean, I guess it doesn't matter what people call it. It's our turn to educate. We're community leaders in different ways. But
I think I like that. I think we're still very much in the awareness stage, and I feel like I think Tanya said it really eloquently too, is that we still need to preach awareness because there are so many different people on the spectrum. But we can also put that in with social economical differences. Even being a person of color on the spectrum is a whole different thing than being a white person on the spectrum because of all kinds of racial and social issues going on with that too. But then the top that, like she said, my boys, I wouldn't say they're savants at anything, but they have a lot of knowledge about certain little things, but that doesn't make them, like you said, Rain Man, or they're so severely autistic that they'll have to live with me for the rest of their lives. So it's really like my children need support in school, and schools need to be able to let my oldest child STEM when he just needs to get up and he needs to run around for like 20 minutes. And there should be no stopping him from doing that. There shouldn't be any shame or judgment in him doing that. But a lot of schools are like, nope, you need to sit in your chair. You can't get out of your chair for the next 6 hours. That's crazy. You know, or like my youngest son, he's really rambunctious and he needs to be able to have short bits of school and have frequent breaks. And the awareness needs to be there because we're still not aware of that, especially when it comes to the school setting, you know?
I have my youngest is in a self-contained classroom and it's not his teacher anymore, but she was there for like a couple months. I don't think she was trained in special needs teacher. I don't think so. Maybe she was a teacher or maybe she was just getting her teaching license, but she came to me and she's like, Noah keeps getting up in class. And I just looked at her, I'm like, okay, we'll practice sitting at home. Like, what do I do with that? Right? What do I do with it? I'll have him practice sitting. He's severe ADHD. And he's low functioning autism. I mean, lady, okay. Gotcha. So anyway, she's no longer, she didn't make it to Christmas. She
didn't make it.
No. She didn't make it, and she needed to go. Like, this is not for you. We need people that are trained. We need people that want to be there.
And aware of the differences and the different needs. And it's
And then to understand that autism is not a package by itself in many cases. It's also ODD and PDA and ADHD, and OCD, all the things.
And then those are spectrums too. So it's a spectrum as well. And listen, I've seen that kid try to climb up a wall. And so I know where that phrase comes from. I thought I'm living it.
Literally climb a wall.
Climb the wall, like shimmy himself up between the bed. I'm like, what is going on in here? Like, I had no idea. I just could not believe it. I just was like, so this is where that old wives' tale comes from. I just
It's true. And
Yeah,
I agree with Brandy too. A teacher's skill really does make a difference,
Yeah.
especially if you have a teacher that is also very aware that they're teaching children with different disabilities, and they're able to support those kids rather than going, this is the way we're supposed to do it. Like,
Right, and they're aware of their needs. It's like we said, like my son has a lot of sensory needs, but for him to focus in class, he needs deep input, physical touch.
Yes.
And so now his teachers know if he's not sitting, give him some deep squeezes, some deep rubs, and then he'll sit. Like it's just like, so just being aware of Avery's needs, and like you said, each one of these kids, they're just a ball of fun. They all have their own little.
They do. I mean, that's not my forte. I could never do that.
Yeah.
But I need the teachers who want to do that, who are trained to do that, to be in that classroom. Because if they don't want to be there, then don't make them be in there.
Yeah.
Like,
then don't.
go.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Yeah.
See you later.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they are. I just think about my two. One is sensory seeking. So like your Avery, he used to wear like a compression shirt and then a shirt or a weighted blanket, a compression vest. And Noah, he doesn't even want to touch the beach. It's just too much. I don't like this. Already done. Been here. We're here. Let's go. Like, bye-bye. You don't want to be here. So it's a challenge trying to do something that both kids like. And I'm sure, Dina, you might experience that. I don't know.
Yes.
Yeah. So.
And I've even taken it to the extreme now of like, I have an annual trip. I have to go down to Universal Orlando with my oldest son because my youngest son will not do theme parks. Yeah. So I'm like, that's okay. This is me and my oldest son.
Exactly. Yes. I love
and I'm going with the younger one. Oh, thank you.
I love that.
But I take vacations with them separately because of that. Yeah. So like next weekend I'm going with him to I live in Northwest Florida, so I'm going to Pensacola. So I can like just hang out with him, and we just hang out at the pool all day long. Yeah. And the older one will go to Universal. And it will be always great. It's so amazing. And then I get to have quality time with him.
Yes. Yes.
But that's important too that you brought up, because each child, it seems like you're always giving attention to one child or the other. And sometimes you just need to do that versus trying to fight that battle every day. So it's nice that they each get some kind of attention. Yeah. I love that. That. Oh, well, I guess we should wrap it up here.
I know we're over time.
We're over time, but I just loved our conversations so much. I just want to put up your websites each again, because I want folks to go and support Tanya. You can do donations. She has a fundraiser coming up, y'all, that she could really use some donations. It's called July Jingle Bash. So it's like
Christmas in July.
Christmas in July. You know, like 6 months away. They could really use some support or donations, baskets. So I want to give that shout out. Dina, she did write a blog for us. So go to my website. You're going to find a blog that she wrote. It's so lovely. I just really appreciated what you wrote. I want to say thank you to that. You can find each of them on their socials. So make sure you visit them on their socials. Show them a little love. Yes. Thank you, ladies, so much. A huge applause for you guys. I really appreciate you. Have a wonderful weekend and what you're doing.
Thank you.
Big hugs to your families. Appreciate you.
Thank you so much.
So I just want to thank you all for being here with me again today. I want to talk to you about Travel is Possible. So I want to start with sharing a story about a boy. And he was sitting at dinner, and next to him were some friends. They were sitting next to the table also. And within 5 seconds, I mean, it was so close, so quick, he cleared the entire table, the dishes, the drinks, all in 5 seconds. I mean, it was so quick. You blinked your eye and he had cleared the entire table with 2 shoves. Now, I want to share with you also what was going on. They were in a buffet restaurant. They were right next to the door. It was on a cruise ship, the buffet restaurant. It was right next to the door to the entrance where you'd hear psh, psh, every time the door opened. It wasn't quite main dinner time. It was right before when most people eat. So they had that, but they had people coming in and out to get drinks. They were right near the drink dispenser. So imagine those noises, clinking of the ice, the dispenser dispensing the drinks, shh, people talking, people chattering, bright lights above, the sun still coming in, shining through these huge floor-to-ceiling windows. Dinner, people are starting to pick up for dinner. You have the smells from all of the food, the rice, the vegetables, the various types of meat, the cookies. You have all of that sensory input, the lights, the smells, the noise from the people, the noise from the doors, the noise from the drink fountain and the people. All of this is going on. And this boy, who wasn't hungry, he doesn't necessarily, sometimes he eats when he's hungry, sometimes he doesn't. Now let me tell you a little bit more about this boy. This is my son, Noah. He was 12 when it happened, but he looked about 9. He has autism. He also has ADHD, OCD, and anxiety. But let me tell you what else he has. He has a love for music. He loves water slides in the pool. He loves music. And he has the best laugh at enjoying his surroundings. Now, this little incident, oh yes, I'm calling it an incident, little, because it was a small moment in time, 5 minutes, that this happened, because he cleared all the dishes in like 5 seconds. Then he had his time out to calm himself, and he came back. But it was just a small incident, right? Because it was spilled glasses and dishes that you just had to pick up from the ground. 5 minutes in a 7-day cruise. Looking back, it was just small, right? Because over 7 days, what is 5 minutes? Just 5 minutes. May have seemed big at the time, but looking back, just a small diagnosis. Now, people may look at us, but that's okay. They always look at us. They may think, oh, he just had too much candy. Oh, he's having a meltdown. But who cares? They need to catch up to us. They need to be made aware of what's going on in this world. Give them time, because they will. They'll catch up to us. They need to do that. We're just fine where we're at. So I want to give you a tip on how you can have a successful vacation. It doesn't have to be 7 days. Let me tell you how you're going to start, okay? So you're going to start small. You're going to start with one night, just one night in a hotel room. Now, I want this to be at least an hour away, because if it's right out your back door, you're going to go back and forth between home and there. Oh, I forgot this. Oh, I forgot that. It needs to be at least 1 hour away. Now, you're going to help your kids learn how to pack themselves, because this isn't the first time that you're going to do this. This will be the first time of many. So our eldest now packs by himself. I just go double check. Our youngest, he's not packing by himself, even though now he's 14. But he can pick out his shirts. We help pair up his shorts. We want to make sure he has pockets in them. And we'll have him get out his favorite bathing suit and pajamas. So there are things that now he can do. So never think your kids are too young to help. You're going to start preparing them to just start packing now. Okay? So you're going to get ready for that first night. Make sure they pack things that are meaningful to them. I mean, not a whole bunch of stuff, but what is their favorite, let's say, toy or cuddly item? Now, for my kids, they don't necessarily have cuddly items. My eldest son, the thing that he wants to take with him always is a book that stays on his nightstand when we travel. All right, 2 books, but that's it. I'm not taking a whole bookshelf. 2 books, okay? And he has this little stuffed animal. is like this big. So that's what he takes. My youngest one does not like stuffed animals at all. So he takes a little car or a couple small Matchbox cars and a couple Legos, and that's it. We're not talking a lot, just a comfort item. So you're going to pack those suitcases, have them help pack their items, maybe a pair of flip-flops to take to the pool. So you're going to make sure that that hotel is an hour away. You're going to make sure that that hotel has a swimming pool and a movie channel that's free. Okay, so that's included, no more extra expense. All right, you're going to go to that hotel. Usually you can check in between 3 and 4 in the afternoon. You're going to put your bags in your room, put on your swim trunks, swimming suits, bathing suits, whatever you call them, and you're going to go swimming, and you're going to enjoy it. If your kids need, and the pools are not deep, they're usually 3 feet to 5 feet. But if your child needs, can't swim, put those little floaty devices on. Buy a 79-cent beach ball from Walmart. I'm not plugging Walmart. I'm just saying get a beach ball and make that an event. It's under $1. You guys can have fun in the pool for an hour, 2 hours. Enjoy your time together. Remember, this is vacation for you. Once you get out of the pool, order your pizza to be delivered. Don't be chasing it down. This is where you get to be pampered. You're not cooking. It's vacation. So have food delivered. Get in your jammies and enjoy the day, the evening in your jammies, your pajamas. All right, so enjoy that. Then, did you take your microwave popcorn? I think I forgot to tell you to pack that. Pack a little bag of popcorn. Put it in the microwave, heat it up, or 2, depending on how large your family is, and then all cuddle on the couch. Or if the sofa is a pull out the bed and all cuddle on the sofa and enjoy your movie night. So you've had swimming on your vacation, you've played with a beach ball, you've enjoyed delivered pizza so no one is cooking, you've had a movie night at your hotel, and then the next morning breakfast is usually included, or make sure it's included, and you have breakfast. And again, you're not cooking. Now, let's talk about all the sensory inputs that you're going to have that you will face for your children. There's going to be new smells, different cleaning products for your sheets, for the room. So be aware of that. Maybe you bring some lavender or some smell that a candle that you burn at your house, bring one with you. The noises are going to be different. You'll have maybe an air conditioner unit in your hotel room. You'll have street noises. You will have noises just going by in the hotel, people walking by back and forth. So I could recommend to you, maybe buy one of those machines that make noise. Now listen, I never heard of these until I got married. I didn't even know what it was. I was like, what is this thing underneath my husband's bed? He's like, it's a sound machine. I'm like, what is that? But they make them where it's just white noise, or they make rain. Now my kids, they go to bed with Alexa, a little Alexa Echo Dot. My one son listens to books being read while he's going to sleep, while the other listens to music. So depending on what your house routine is, maybe you don't have a machine, but you could probably find it on Amazon, or we found one on B&B, Bed Bath & Beyond. So something I would recommend doing that, because my severely ADHD kid, he hears everything. I think he has supersonic hearing. So buy one of those to block out most of those noises. Now the sheets are going to feel different. They might be a little bit scratchy or a little bit soft, depending on your sensory input. And then the pillows. Listen, even for me, it's either too soft or I'm cranked up too high. Maybe you bring your pillow with you. I don't want you packing a lot. This should not be a chore to go on one night, but maybe bring your pillow along. So you have that. Those are some ways to combat those sensory inputs and noises that you will have in that hotel room. So you got your swimming, you got your movie night, you have your food delivered, so you're not cooking, because we don't want to do that on vacation, and you have your breakfast in the morning. Now, when a couple of these become successful for you, then I think you're ready to tackle a 3 to 4 day vacation. Don't give up. Keep trying. Listen, my little one, we started vacationing with him when he was 4.5. So maybe 6 months after we had adopted him, and it was horrible. Listen, it was horrible. He would scream every hotel room for an hour and a half. You heard me, 1.5 hours every night until he fell asleep. No, I'm not exaggerating. 1.5 hours in the hotel room every night. We survived. You can survive. We did it. Y'all can do it. I'm telling you, you're my bestie. You're my travel bestie. I'm your travel bestie. We did it. You can do it. Listen, there's 40% of families, less than 50% of families are planning vacations this year. Only 13% of us are planning travel. We need to get that number higher. I'm telling you, you can do it. We did it. We survived. It was painful in the beginning, but we kept at it because they're worth it and you're worth it. You deserve to travel. You deserve a vacation. You and your family deserve to create memories together. So start small, okay? You deserve it. Now, both of our boys also have anxiety, but it presents to them differently. Noah chews the inside of his cheeks. It looks like raw meat. It looks like raw hamburger. So he chews the inside of his cheeks and inside his lips. Jacob, though, he perseverates, meaning he keeps thinking about it over and over and over again. And he keeps repeating the same questions and same statements over and over and over again. So anxiety presents to them differently. But I have a tool for them and I have a tool for you to help them with their anxiety. It won't go away, but we'll help reduce that. And it's called the social story. So I was first introduced to this social story when we were in the military. So we were moving a lot. And it was our turn to move again. And one of their applied behavior board certified behavioral analysis, their autism therapist, created this social story for our eldest because we were just a single child at the time. And he didn't know where we were moving to. He didn't know his school, who his teacher was going to be, or where we were where we were going to live. So they made this social story and it was interactive. So I had his picture on the page because it was for him, this story. And it moved and then you opened it up and there was a picture of his school. And then you turned the page and it had him with a suitcase and it added lines to it where it became interactive. And he could write down what he was going to pack. So that gave me the idea. Why don't we do this for travel? Not just for moving in the military, not just for going to school or a new life event, like getting another brother, right? Why don't we do this for all travel? And so we could do that for you. And I have this in my book, Travel is Possible. So if you look in there, I have an appendix in there that talks about the social story. I've used this for my clients. It has worked out tremendously. So they could add in lines like, who am I traveling with? And I could add pictures of they could add pictures of who's traveling with them, like an aunt, uncle, or a grandpa. You go flip to the next page and it has a picture of their resort or a picture of the pool they're going to swim in. Or if they love teppanyaki. And so we could put a picture of the teppanyaki restaurant in there. So and it reads like a book. Now, depending on your child and their sense of time, I know my youngest, I can't give this to him until the day before we travel because he doesn't have any sense of time. So he'll always say tomorrow or tonight, and it's really going to be 5 days away. So you have to choose when you're going to give the book. It reads like a story to your child, but it has been a game changer. I'm telling you, it's been successful. It has helped my clients. So it's very easy to do. Now, once you're on that vacation, I'm going to recommend to you that you start a vacation routine. We all know that we need to have that routine, whether we're 35 or 5, right? We need a routine. They do too. It's very important. So it's rough those first couple of days setting that schedule, but you need to set that schedule. So We're used to going to breakfast at 9 every day. So we go to breakfast at 9. We go in our swim trunks. And then from the restaurant, we go right to the pool. And we hang out at the pool for 2-3 hours. That's what we do. We hang out at the pool for 2-3 hours. We play games in the pool. Like, I'm the pirate and I'm going to attack the ship going by. Well, the ship is really just us on a floaty. So we do that. Then we pretend the floaties are taxis and we take turns giving each other taxi rides. Just have fun. Use your imagination. Then around 12, we go to the restaurant. We try to rotate which restaurant we're going to. We let each other take turns. And then in the afternoon, we let them have tech. Why? Because it's vacation. Or we play Uno. So we have 3 or 4 different kinds of Uno. And we all love playing Uno. And it's easy for those that can read or not read. So that's why Uno is a favorite of ours. We play Uno. We play some games. We might go to the coffee shop, get some hot chocolate, get some tea. And of course, they have dessert. So, we have to take a little dessert. And then we go into tech or take a nap for my husband. He loves his nap. So you see, we get into our routine. And everybody has that routine. They know what to expect every day. Our kids know what to expect, and we know what to expect. Less meltdowns. I'm telling you, the first 2 days are a little rough. But after that, less meltdowns, more acceptance. And we tell them, okay, tomorrow is, instead of going to the pool, tomorrow is the water park. Jacob loves the beach. Tomorrow is the beach. So again, we tell them what to expect when, and it's phenomenal having that schedule of events. Okay, we are here to tell you travel's possible, right? You are warriors. I know you live this every day. I know planning a trip can be overwhelming. I know that. But using these tools can help. Now, let's say you're an adult with anxiety, or you have an adult living with you with anxiety. Not to worry. Have a calendar, take an itinerary, and put the events in there day by day. It's helped those that have anxiety. You know exactly what tour you're going to go on, or you know exactly what you're going to do. I'm going to fly this day. I'm going to arrive at this airport. I'm going to have a transfer pick me up, and this is the hotel I'm checking into. So if you have an adult, maybe that will help. It just depends on their level of anxiety, their level of autism, whatever their level is. Will determine how much, if you use a social story or if you use the calendar and detailed itinerary. So it might be overwhelming and it might be a little scary for you, but use these, everything that you are thinking is valid. I know it is. It can be scary and overwhelming. It can be hard. But you are warriors. The things that you're doing are amazing. You're champions. You do incredible things every single day. So I just want you to remember to start small. Use the tips that we've talked about a lot. Use the suggestions that I've given you. Your focus should be on creating memories together. It doesn't have to be a lot. You don't have to go here and here and here. Just do a one thing. Focus on one thing. Focus on creating memories together, being together, and focusing on each other. I want you to know that travel is possible. So that is our conference this year. I hope you were able to get something from everybody. Today, we had an amazing panel. We had we started with Dr. Brandy Tanner with her IEP information. Make sure you go to your IEP source, check her out, get her free guide. We also had Tanya Hines on, and make sure you go to her website. And their lemonade stand, they could use some donations. We also had Dina Farmer on today with Spectrum Getaways. I just adore her too, and she's doing incredible work in the travel industry. And don't forget my socials and my website. I have several blogs up there that target specifically to, that's a Thursday of every month, sorry, fourth Thursday of every month is dedicated to Travel is Possible. But there's other blogs up there every Thursday that you could use. I just want to say thank you to Teresa. You haven't seen her today, but she's been behind the scenes. Also to Liz Everett. She has also helped get me on all the other platforms. So I just want to wish you bon voyage to wherever you're going. I pray that your travel is safe and happy and creating memories together. Remember, travel is possible.